Now, let's get those boxes unpacked and take a better look at each component prior to putting everything together. For this example, we'll use an Amiga 500 system. Later on, we'll show you how to assemble an Amiga 2000 series system as well. Don't worry, you won't need a mechanic's toolkit or any aspirin. The Amiga 500 contains all of the principal components that make up the computer. Called the main unit, you'll plug in all of the various peripherals you purchase to this central operating center. The main unit of the Amiga 500 includes a keyboard, a disk drive, the Amiga processing system called the CPU, or Central Processing Unit, some memory, graphics, and sound chips, and an expansion slot for future hardware additions. In the back of the unit, you'll find a number of connectors for plugging in peripheral devices such as external disk drives, printers, and telephone modems. If we've lost you already, don't worry. We'll explain everything in a few minutes. There are two cables coming out of the power supply. This end connects the unit to the Amiga, while the other end plugs into the power socket in your wall. In the packaging for the main unit, you'll also find a device with a long cable attached to it. This is the mouse. We'll talk a lot about mice, or specifically your mouse, as this video continues. In another box, you'll find the monitor display for the Amiga. There are a number of different monitors available for the Amiga, but for this video, we'll use the monitor offered by Commodore. This monitor looks very similar to a television monitor. It includes jacks for plugging in computer signals, stereo sound, and video. You may have purchased some other components as well, including a disk drive, a printer, or a modem. We'll discuss all of them as we proceed, but for now, we're going to discuss the assembly of a basic Amiga 500 system. When working with computers, it's a common wish to get started as quickly as possible. Some people will jump right in, forgetting to read the instruction guides that come with the computers. We suggest that you read through your Amiga User's Guide for information on getting set up and using the operating system. Connecting anything, it's a good idea to check and make sure that everything is turned off. For those of you that purchased additional memory, your first step is to insert the A501 memory unit into the bottom of the CPU. The memory board is sensitive and comes packaged in a static-proof container. Follow the instructions in the user's guide. Remove the cover of the memory slot, then carefully insert the memory board onto the slotted connector. Don't force it, but do use some pressure. Once it's snug in the connector, replace the cover onto the bottom of the unit. Next, attach the RGB monitor. You may want to mount it on the rear deck of the Amiga, but it would be a bit better if you could find a place next to or behind the unit so the monitor is on a stable surface. Now, before moving any further, let's make sure we have several items available to us while we learn how to use the computer. You will need the Commodore User Guide, the Workbench disk, several blank disks, a pen and paper for taking some notes. Before you power up the computer for the first time, it's a good idea to check all of the connections to make sure there isn't anything loose or improperly attached. Once you're sure that everything is properly set up, you can flip the power switch. Within a moment or two, an image will appear on the screen of your monitor. If nothing happens, check to make sure that you've turned the monitor on. The display will show a computer disk and the word Workbench. One of the pet peeves of computer users is that regardless of the computer they use, sometimes an instruction will cause the computer to become confused and to lock up. This is called crashing. When the computer crashes, all the data in its memory is usually lost, although the information on your disk will remain okay. The Amiga provides the user with a message indicating the type of problem. The Amiga uses a clever term called guru to signify the error. If you ever encounter a guru or cannot otherwise get the Amiga to perform, you will need to reset or reboot the computer. To do this, simply depress 3 keys on your Amiga keyboard at once, the left and right Amiga key and the control key.